we need to stop talking about setting our sights on being relevant, and we need to start raising our sights to having an impact. Want to take chambers from relevant to impact. Hey, do you want to be a lamppost? Well, that's being relevant. You're just shining a light on a little square or a little portion of the public square. Or do you want to be a lighthouse where members and the community are looking to you for direction, and you are being the spotlight? You're not trying to be in the spotlight. You are being the spotlight for your community. So which one do you want to be, Chamber?
This is the Chamber Chat Podcast, the show dedicated to chamber professionals to spark ideas and to get actionable tips and strategies to better serve your members and community. Hello, Chamber Champions. Welcome to Chamber Chat Podcast. I'm your host, Brandon Burton, and it's my goal here on the podcast to introduce you to people and ideas to better help you serve your chamber members and your community. Today's guest is a dynamic leader in the world of small business advocacy and economic development. Matt Appenzeller is the executive director of the Southern Ohio Chamber Alliance, representing 127 chambers of commerce and helping thousands of small businesses access health insurance and other vital benefits. He also serves as plan administrator for the SOCA Benefit Plan, a statewide medical plan designed specifically for small employers. Matt's leadership journey includes serving as executive director of the Preble County Chamber of Commerce, where he spearheaded the creation of the Preble County Economic Development Partnership and was named Community Leader of the Year in 2012. For 2 decades of experience in sales and management and a proud 7-year tenure in the U.S. Army, Matt brings a wealth of knowledge, discipline, and commitment to service. He currently resides in Cincinnati with his wife, Lauren. Matt, welcome to Chamber Chat Podcast. We're happy to have you on the show today. I'd love to give you an opportunity to say hello to all the chamber champions out there listening. If you would, share something interesting about yourself so we can all get to know you a little better.
Well, to share something interesting, I was stationed in Germany before and after the Berlin Wall fell. So I got to see it before and after.
How long were you there on either end of that mark in history?
So I was there for a total of 4.5 years, and I had been there. I want to say like 2.5 years, 2 3/4 years when it fell, and then finished out my actually second enlistment from there.
Well, that is an interesting fact about you. In fact, just last week, I'd met a German native who grew up and lived his whole life in Germany and talked about, what a significance that was when the wall came down, and just a life changer for the whole the whole area. So I think that the concept of freedom, we all talk about that in our own country here, but think about a time when people in East Germany literally risked their lives just to get across the border, and if it was a militarized zone and they were avoiding gunfire to do it. So that's how precious freedom is. Yeah, freedom's a great thing. Awesome. Well, tell us a little bit about SOCA. Help give us an idea of the organization, the size. I know your bio talked about 127 chambers that you guys serve, but just help kind of set the stage for what you guys do and who you serve and that scope of work you're involved with.
Sure. So the Southern Ohio Chamber Alliance exists to support chambers of commerce. So what we do is we cultivate relationships with insurance carriers, brokers, and other affinity partners so that we can offer cost-saving and value-added products and services to employers. But we do that through chambers of commerce, which helps the chambers drive membership and also drive non-dues revenue for the chamber. Southern Ohio Chamber Alliance has been around now we're in our 33rd year. I've been leading the organization for the past 13 years. Typically our meat and potatoes, so to speak, has been through healthcare or health insurance. We've had a series of partnerships over the years. currently, after the Affordable Care Act was formed, us and some other interested partners got together to start a self-insured plan for small employers that gave the small employer like the same chance at a self-insured plan that a large employer would have. Brandon, I got to tell you, it's whenever I'm speaking about this in front of people, we thought that this would be a temporary thing until Congress sort of shored up some provisions within the Affordable Care Act as it relates to small employers. And about a year and a half into it, we discovered that, Congress is not going to do anything anytime soon. So we went ahead and put our foot on the accelerator, so to speak, and it's done very, very well. It's actually called a multiple employer welfare arrangement. That's the legal term of the plan. And we've been able to serve over 7,000 employers in that health plan. And it's a privilege to be able to offer that kind of value. And we've got now, including our approximately 130 chambers, we have chambers throughout the state who also participate in that with us. And so we've got about 275 chambers of commerce in Ohio that are helping with the distribution of that plan.
When I think of over 7,000 employers and then break that down to the number of employees and families that affects, that's huge. That is a huge impact.
It is. We've been hovering around, 50,000 employee lives for a really long time. And like you just said, I mean, it's a big number, and it's a privilege to be able to do it.
Well, for our topic of discussion today, just a little bit of background for listeners. Matt and I have gone back and forth on some emails and LinkedIn chats and different things. And I think even at ACCE last year, we talked a little bit, but Matt's had some pretty neat ideas that we've gone back and forth about. He's working on a new book right now where some of these ideas are going to be fleshed out even more. But I'd said, it'd be good just to get you on the podcast and we'll talk about some of these ideas that you're trying to get out there and more normalized in the chamber world and shine a light on it. So we're going to kind of be all over the place, throughout this conversation, but it's all going to be chamber focused, and it's going to be all about improving the impact that a chamber can have. And we'll dive into this as soon as we get back from this quick break.
Hi, I'm Joe.
And I'm Rose.
And we're the founders of At My Community, a mobile app that can be customized to meet the unique needs of your Chamber of Commerce.
When we started At My Community, we envisioned a tool that would help communities thrive by simplifying communication and enhancing engagement. Chambers of Commerce face unique challenges, and we're here to help you tackle them.
At My Community helps the Evergreen Area Chamber of Commerce to create an app that keeps tourists informed even when their office is closed. They provide 24/7 access to local business information, which helps support the local economy and community engagement.
In Rocky Mountain House, we helped Rocky Chamber create an app with dynamic itineraries and digital resources for tourists, increasing local business engagement. The app has become an essential tool for the community, promoting events and boosting visibility for local merchants.
Today, we empower more than 200 chambers of commerce, campgrounds, and RV resorts to streamline communication, informing members about events, sharing business updates, and providing a digital hub for the community, all in one convenient app.
When you partner with At My Community, our team works closely with you to create an app that meets your chamber's unique needs. As your community grows, our app evolves with you. We are here to ensure you engage effectively with your members and streamline your operations.
Schedule a demo today at atmycommunity.com.
We can't wait to meet you.
Are you ready to take your organization's funding to the next level? Hi, I'm Clint Neesmith, CEO of Resource Development Group. As a Chamber of Commerce or Economic Development Organization leader, I know you understand the value of working with experts who understand your world. And that's exactly what RDG does best. For over 30 years, RDG has specialized in fundraising for EDOs and chambers. We bring cutting-edge strategies tailored to your organization, whether you're just starting out or gearing up for yet another new funding cycle. Importantly, our firm executives are hands-on from start to finish, from the feasibility study to the successful conclusion of your fundraising campaign. And our team brings deep industry roots and national expertise to every engagement. No matter the size of your community, RDG delivers data-driven, innovative revenue solutions, reinforcing ROI to investors and making sure your vision becomes reality. At RDG, we proudly build organizations that build communities. Visit us today at rdgfundraising.com and let us partner with you, building a stronger future for your organization and the community you are working to grow and develop.
All right, Matt, we're back. As I mentioned before the break, we're going to dive in on all things chamber.
Awesome.
So
Let's
I
do it.
mentioned you're working on a new book. I don't know if you want to start with the kind of what the book's focus is going to be on, or if you want to dive into some of the specifics. Do you have any?
Yeah, well,
preference?
let me start by, kind of just laying out how it got started, right? So I used to spend a significant amount of time on the road visiting chambers. Now we've hired someone to do that, but over the 13 years of not just me doing that, but the other two people on our staff, between the three of us, we've got about 50 years of chamber experience, right? And we see the same four problems that local chambers, they end up having. They experience them over and over and over. And so I wrote this paper called The Four Critical Challenges Facing Local Chambers of Commerce Today. And, somebody said, I can't remember, I think it was somebody on my staff said, you ought to just write a book. Actually, I think I said that, and she said, yeah, you kind of should. And so we just sort of expanded the ideas from there, and here we are, right? It's this writing a book, as I'm finding out, is a huge undertaking. Sometimes it's very enjoyable, and sometimes it's not. But we're just trying to get the word out. One of the things I see, Brandon, is we see changes in leadership at these chambers of commerce, and I know that with your background, you have seen it also. These they just end up recreating the wheel, right, before the next change in leadership. And so, if we can put some literature out there that maybe helps to reduce that and helps to point chambers at least maybe in the right direction, or at least points out what problems that they're going to face and how to avoid them, well, then I feel that we've put out a valuable product.
And you're right. I've seen it a number of times, and people will join the chamber because they like the chamber president, the executive. There's some connection there, or the salesperson that sold them was really good, and they really like that salesperson. But then that salesperson gets hired on at another business in the community, and that member fades away. Once renewal comes around.
That's right.
The salesperson's
That's
out there.
right.
So being able to get to that core value of what the chamber does, what the chamber is going to be in the future, I think is so critical to be able to retain, that purpose for chambers and how they operate, and being able to help ingrain that in their memberships.
Absolutely. And, we recently had a conversation with one of our guests on our podcast that, he says it's all about relationships. Well, and he's right. It is. And when you have these changes in leadership, those relationships get interrupted, and then they have to be reconstituted. And it is very difficult for a chamber to have gain momentum if they're constantly having those leadership changes. So that in itself, now that I'm on it, that is one of the four critical challenges, facing chambers of commerce is leadership, and specifically the changes in leadership.
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the aspects that you talk about, that we've talked about, and I know you're addressing in the book as well, is you have this really intriguing analogy that you've used between lighthouses and lampposts. Do you want to tell us what that is,
Sure.
your background, what the analogy is all about, and how chambers can take that home?
Absolutely. So let me start at the beginning of that, right? So one of the things that I think chambers really need to do is to have the right mindset on who they are as a chamber. If you're just going to be this community organization, or if you're going to be a beacon of light, right? And one of the things, as you know, has occurred in our profession is there's this emphasis on the word relevance, that chambers need to be relevant. And I'm going to take exception to that, right? In fact, I do take exception to that. I think that, well, let me tell a story. I'll do it that way. So I'm doing some work on my laptop, and my wife is next to me on the couch, and she's watching one of the entertainment shows. I think it's the Extra with Mario Lopez and whatnot. But anyway, this aging celebrity gets on the show and is pitching their pet product. And my wife says, well, look at so-and-so just trying to be relevant again. And I thought to myself, oh boy, yeah, I mean, is this where we really are? I mean, is this where we really are with change? Are we really like aging institutions just trying to remain relevant again? If that's the case, we need to stop talking about setting our sights on being relevant, and we need to start raising our sights to having an impact. So I say all of that.
Relevance, a point of desperation almost. So
it seems that way. So we want to take chambers from relevant to impact. And so we drew the analogy of, hey, do you want to be a lamppost? Well, that's being relevant. You're just shining a light on a little square or a little portion of the public square. Or do you want to be a lighthouse where members and the community are looking to you for direction? And you are being the spotlight. You're not trying to be in the spotlight. You are being the spotlight for your community. So which one do you want to be, Chamber? And that's why I say chambers of commerce, one of the very first things they need to do is just think about the mindset that they currently have. If it's centered around relevance, I'm here to tell you that's way too low.
Yeah. Yeah. I would totally agree with that. And as you were talking about the lighthouse, shining the light, I see some correlation even with Dave Atkinson's book, Horseshoes versus Chess, where he correlates that running a chamber is like playing chess, where each piece is a different part of your community. You've got tourism, economic development, school district, city, all these different entities. And as a convener, a chamber should be shining the light on the different chess pieces. So that that lighthouse rather, as that light's going around, it should be shining on those different chess pieces each time it goes around. So I love the analogy. It really resonates for me. And hopefully those that are hearing this, hopefully it's turning on a light in their minds as well as to what they can do.
Well, thank you. And I try to outline that in the book as best as I can. And I guess, readers will have to tell me if it resonated with them. But, the analogy is clear. I mean, I just don't think that we can settle for just, shining a light on this small area. We need to be the spotlight and be that leader where people literally look to us for direction. The world is changing very rapidly now. And we need to be able to use, chambers of commerce need to be able to use their convening authority, as you mentioned, to do just that and to be that beacon of light for their community.
Yeah. And I think if you are operating as a lamppost, I mean, I don't want anybody to feel bad, but you're missing the mark. I mean, it really, if that's all that you're focused on, there's a lot of other parts of the community that need attention, and it will really take your chamber to a place of impact. So
that's right. That's right.
That. This kind of transitions us to the next thought that I wanted to address with you is, so some chambers are operating as a lamppost, and some have caught the vision and they're operating more as a lighthouse now. I know it's been an issue for you. I've recognized it as well, but how can a chamber see how they're measuring up? How do they compare to other chambers amongst their peers? I know ACCE has their annual benchmark survey, but what percentage of chambers participate in that? So that's right. That's a problem in and of itself. But I know you have some thoughts about trying to measure and see the performance of your organization compared to others.
Yeah, that's right, Brandon. So another one of the four critical challenges that we've said is that in our profession, there is a shockingly low amount of industry standard metrics within our industry. Now, ACCE does a great job of collecting data and publishing it every year. I guess one of my concerns is that no one really knows about it. Well, there's actually two things, right? Number one, I'm not sure that they're getting enough participation in that. And then number two, once it is published, like no one really knows about it unless you're a member. And so it renders the data almost irrelevant because if no one's seeing it, right? If not enough people are seeing it. So an argument that I make in the book is that, one of the things, as you know, and Dave Atkinson outlined this in his book. And so we need to get away from the saying that says, if you've seen one chamber of commerce, you've seen one, right? Because that, I believe, is harmful to the profession. What chambers need now is to be able to have metrics and not myths, right? Every chamber can be measured on a certain amount of standard metrics. We recently developed a scorecard for chambers that we actually are just rolling out this week. And we are measuring chambers on 7 data points across 3 broad categories. Those broad categories are membership growth, financial strength, and revenue composition. And until chambers, especially the smaller chambers, and Brandon, again, you have experience working with some of these smaller chambers and smaller communities, right? I think one of the biggest problems is they don't know how they're performing against their peers. And so they kind of choose this strategy as maybe this working and maybe this strategy, and they don't have any benchmark.
Yeah.
That's right. And so if you have standard metrics, industry standard metrics, you can isolate where those strengths and weaknesses are within your own organization. And you can build up the strengths, and you can also, begin working on those weaknesses as well. So that's what we're trying to do here. And we've got a small audience to work with. Hopefully we'll gain some traction with it. But I'm confident that if we just persist, we will.
Yeah, and as you mentioned with the ACCE benchmarking surveys and the results, and the whole reason that I started this podcast is trying to help those chambers that are underserved, that their board doesn't allow for them to have the budget to participate in their state association or ACCE. So as those results come out, and they're a struggling chamber that needs to know what these standards should be, what they should measure themselves against, and they don't get access to these reports because their board doesn't allow them to do it. So it just perpetuates the problem, and
that's
we
right.
need to be able to help get it out. And I think, with these areas that you're talking about measurement for, those should be standards across different chambers, and it still allows for the autonomy for chambers to address the needs specific to their community while still having those standards to work with.
That's right. Let me give you an example. And I don't want to give too far off track, but okay, let's just take Richardson, Texas, which I know is kind of near you in the North Dallas area. And I don't know if Richardson has a chamber or not. I'm just saying that.
They do.
Right? Okay. So, if you declare yourself a chamber of commerce in Richardson, Texas, then what that chamber probably has done is they've put a boundary around their service area. And so you've automatically restricted your market area. So I don't think chambers understand the significance of doing that. Like any business out here, you wouldn't do that. You wouldn't draw a boundary around where you would sell your product or service. You would try to expand it as far. I know that we do that for a reason, but you got to understand how that impacts the bottom line by doing that. Within that, let's say that we determine for a chamber of that size that the standard market penetration rate is, let's just say it's 28%. And Brandon, you're running a chamber and I'm running a chamber, right? So Brandon, in your chamber, let's say we both have the same goal of increasing revenue by 15%. Your chamber is running at 20% market penetration. So we know that you're already 8 points below what the average is. Well, operationally, your choices are very clear. You just need to increase your sales effort, which will increase membership dollars and probably sponsorship dollars because of an increased number of members. Now, on the other hand, if my chamber is at 36% market penetration rate and I'm already 8 points over what the average is, it would be a really bad business decision for me to do exactly the same thing you are.
Yeah.
And that's why we need to have metrics, these standard metrics, because depending on where you're at in the spectrum of things, you're going to make different business decisions about where you're at.
I love that perspective of being able to see where to allocate resources. And I think you'll still, I would imagine you'll have your outliers who are way ahead of the pack that are going to bring that industry standard up higher than,
That's right. That's right.
mess up the curve for everybody. But it does help to see where to align your efforts and focus to be able to meet those goals.
Yeah, and hopefully we'll be able to create cohorts to where, those outliers are with the other outliers.
Yeah.
And at least they can be compared to each other, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I like that. And as far as the geography goes, you see a lot of chambers that are starting to address that in their name, at least, using Richardson, maybe the greater Richardson or the Richardson area chamber. So it's not just that geographic area, but branches out a little bit. But
That's right. That's right.
to your point, though, in today's world, as a business owner, you're not going to limit yourself, especially with websites and, just the online presence. Anyone in the world could be a potential customer. So as a chamber, why would you limit? And chambers have websites, and a lot of them you can join the chamber. You can even do sponsorships through their website oftentimes. So why would you
That's
limit
right.
it? So
That's right.
yeah.
Just something to think about it because it does impact the bottom line and the long-term viability of your chamber.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you want to touch on the other two areas and
Sure.
just highlight those?
Yeah.
A little bit?
So let me back up with the four critical challenges. We say that two of those challenges impact all chambers, and those are the pace of technology and industry standard metrics. The other two challenges only impact some chambers because other chambers have actually solved that problem. And those challenges are leadership and complacency. Now, if we start with technology, we are living in a really strange time as it comes to technology. I mean, it is coming at us in waves, and everybody, I think, is having difficulty keeping up with that challenge. So, but as it relates to chambers, if you're not keeping pace, if you're not modernizing, if you're not standardizing, optimizing, or if you're using outdated technology infrastructure, it's hard for your members to have confidence in you because they're using that stuff while you aren't, right? So I know it sounds like keeping up with the Joneses, but that's just the reality of where we're at right now as it comes to technology.
So on the technology front, I've, obviously with AI, there's people of different camps and different thoughts around it. But to your point, if you're not using the latest tool sets, if you're not using the latest technologies that your members are using, that puts you at a disadvantage. It puts you at a place of, maybe not knowing what you should know to be able to help the business community. But I'll hear chambers, have the pushback of, well, but chambers are all about the relationships. And if we rely too much on AI, then we're not building those relationships and having that human touch with our members. How would you rebut that? What would your thought be with that?
Well, I would say that first of all, the next phase, as far as I understand, the next phase of AI is that it's going to be into the agentic phase. And so you don't just have to be using AIs for, communications. You can be using it for other parts of your operation to do tasks for you that help you save time. But I would also say that an interesting proposition here is I know of at least one chamber that is considering using AI to make retention phone calls, right? Because that agent can work for them in retention 24/7, right? And so I think that chambers of commerce will need to explore every possibility on how this can be used and what works best for them.
Yeah. And obviously, the caveat is it comes with training. It comes with, being able to give a scope for the AI agent to do, what you want it to do and to
That's
not
right.
just be another, spam call that you got to filter
Right.
through. But so there's all that to deal with. But I think you make a great point that the businesses in your community are using these things to save costs, to be able to stay competitive. And we need to as well. As chambers, as an industry, we need to do it to show not just that we're relevant, but that we see where things are going, where the puck is headed, right?
That's right. You can't be you can't be a lighthouse when you for AI at least, in what all your other members are using when you yourself are not using it.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Well, is there anything else that you wanted to touch on? I know we've covered a lot, and there's a lot still to go, but what else stands out for you?
Well, there's just a lot of ground here. So I would say just in one of the other areas, as far as complacency goes, I think that in some of these smaller chambers over time, what ends up happening is I don't think it's like a conscious choice. I just think that they have mission drift, that over time, they have somehow become, rather than the Chamber of Commerce, they become like the Chamber of Charity or the Chamber of Community or the Chamber of Civics, as one of my colleagues used to say. And then there's also this sort of hesitancy to have an impact on their community, because having an impact as a leader in your community means that, yes, you do need to stick your neck out there. And sometimes people are not going to take too kindly of that. Yeah. So you just got to understand that, impact makes waves. That's kind of the point we make in the book, that, you can't shy away from it. I mean, it's just part of the territory. This is the role that you're in as a leader and as a chamber. And if you want to make an impact in your community, you are going to make some waves. So I'm just making you aware of that.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You can't shy away from it.
Yeah. Yeah. You can't lead a chamber just to make friends. It's going to,
That's right.
It's going to make some waves.
That's right. That's right. That's right.
That's a great note. Well, Matt, I like asking everyone I have on the show, especially on behalf of those listening who have that desire to take their chamber up to the next level. And I would say even to be a chamber of impact. What kind of tip or action item would you leave with them to try to accomplish that goal?
Well, I'd say just actually two things. First of all, again, back to technology, make sure that you are modernizing, standardizing, optimizing. That's really important in today's day and age. I know it's coming at us fast. I know that you may make a decision now about a product and all of a sudden the technology changes, 3 weeks later, but you just kind of have to roll with it. The second thing that I would just say is that, if people if they have ever read ACCE's original Horizon report in 2025, they talk about catalytic leadership, and that's the kind of leadership that your chamber needs, where you are the people who are initiating change, not just the one that is helping them cope with change, right? And so I think that that's the kind of chamber. The most successful chambers are going to be the ones who are doing that.
Love that. Not just to help them cope with change.
Those aren't my words.
Chamber of counseling, right?
Yeah, I mean, those aren't my words, but that comes directly out of the report. I highly encourage people to read that, and also read the follow-up report for 2035.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, Matt, the other question I like asking everybody, and I think this is going to be particularly on point with our discussion today. How do you see the future of chambers and their purpose going forward?
Yeah, I think a lot of that is going to be dependent on where technology takes us, right? I see smaller chambers coming to the realization that they're going to need to merge simply because like the industrial era is kind of over, right? I mean, I'm not going to say it's completely over, but you just don't get a lot of new building as much as you have new technology that is driving commerce, right? And so I think in some of these smaller communities where they may have been bedroom communities and a segment of their population, you know, drove to the next county, and that's where everybody worked, and now those jobs are no longer there. I just think it's the prudent move for them would be to consider merging with other smaller chambers within their area and just forming regional chambers and doing it that way.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely could be some value in doing that, and obviously, assessing the needs in your community and
Mm-hmm.
and see where that technology takes us.
That's
It'll
right.
be a fun ride for sure.
That's right.
Well, man, I wanted to give you an opportunity to share any contact information or anywhere you'd like to point anyone to that might want to learn more about these concepts you're talking about or connect with you, and where would you point them and direct them?
Sure. Well, you can go to our website at joinsoca.com, joinsoca.com, or you can send us an email at info@joinsoca.com if you want to learn more about the scorecard or maybe some of these other concepts. I'd be happy to share them with you.
Very good. We'll make sure those are in our show notes as well, so it'll be nice and easy to find and click on. But Matt, this has been great having you on the show. I look forward to the book coming out, and getting it out there is another core piece to the chamber library that all these chamber leaders out there should have.
Yeah, so just one more point on that. Dave Atkinson challenged all of us really like to have a dialogue, and that's really all I'm trying to do. I mean, I personally think that we need more literature out there because we just don't have a lot. So that's all I'm trying to do is just make a contribution to our profession before my time is up, right? So thanks for having me. Really appreciate it.
Absolutely. It's been my pleasure.
If you are a chamber professional, be sure to subscribe to Chamber Chat Podcast on your favorite podcast app or now on YouTube, so you never miss a new episode. New episodes are released each week and delivered right to you. If you're finding value in the podcast, please take a moment to leave a rating and review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen. It really helps others discover the show. And most importantly, share Chamber Chat Podcast with your colleagues in the industry so we can continue to grow and strengthen the chamber community together.
This episode is brought to you by Riverside. If you've ever thought about starting a podcast for your chamber or your business, one of the biggest challenges is recording high-quality audio and video, especially when you and your guest aren't in the same room. Riverside is the platform I use to record every episode of the show. It gives you studio-quality audio and video right from your browser, automatically backs up your files, and even creates clips you can use on social media. It's designed to make podcasting simple and professional without the headaches. If you're ready to launch your podcast or upgrade your recordings, head over to chamberchatpodcast.com/riverside to get started today. Again, that's chamberchatpodcast.com/riverside, the same tool I trust to bring you these conversations every week.